Greg had this listing. It was over in San Bernardino, and it was getting ready to close. And he'd been over checking on the property pretty regularly, as he does, right? And so the buyer's agent never sent a walkthrough. He asked for the walkthrough. They said, nah, they're not going to do walkthrough. No big deal. It's an REO. There's no repairs, right? So it's not a problem. It's the same. So he goes there the afternoon that it closed escrow. So he got confirmation in the morning. Goes there in the afternoon to pick up his lockbox and his sign. Guess what? Someone's moved in. They weren't the buyers. Oops. So then he calls the buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent tears over there and goes, oh my gosh, you have to get them out. No, we really don't. We're not responsible. But you know what would have beat this? What would have taken care of this? If you had done a walkthrough. If you had done a walkthrough a day ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, you would have found out that there were squatters here. Because these people were pretty firmly entrenched. The neighbors thought they moved in about a week ago. So if that agent had done a walkthrough, you would have been able to find out that there are squatters. Oops, we better not close. Then it would have been the seller's responsibility to get them out. But you closed the escrow, you didn't do your job. The agent didn't do his job, not Greg. And now they've got the problem. So make sure, if you're the buyer's agent, make sure you're doing a walkthrough. If you're the seller's agent, make sure you're strongly suggesting that the buyer do a walkthrough. And if they don't, get them to sign the waiver. On the bottom of the walkthrough form, which is a VP, by the way, in the WIN forms, but at the bottom of that walkthrough form is a checkbox that says, I waive my right to a walkthrough. Have them sign that if they don't want to do one. But I really want to have those in our files, and you know I kick your file back if you don't do it.
Not only that, but a lot of I have a situation, and the condition of the property has changed by the time that you've seen it. So you don't want to record, you don't want to fund and record when there's damage into the property and you don't do the walkthrough.
Break-ins? What's disappearing from properties at an alarming rate right now?
Dishwashers and stoves.
Air conditioning units are disappearing, appliances are disappearing, fixtures are disappearing, doors are disappearing, carpet is disappearing. So make sure you do the walkthrough. The cabinets, yeah, it all walks away, doesn't it? And then another thing that I'm seeing is contingency removals. Now, if you're the buyer's agent, you don't want to talk about a contingency removal. If the listing agent gives you contingency removal, you really have to have your buyer sign it whether you like it or not, because it's part of your original contract. However, if you're the listing agent, you need to be insisting on contingency removals. You need to count forward from the day your offer is accepted to 17 days. Go ahead and pull that contingency removal up right then. Stick it in your folder, and on the 17th day, you send it to the buyer's agent and you have them remove contingencies. Another story about that, and we're not in the right this time. We have a transaction that was supposed to have closed escrow about a month ago. And the seller, there were some problems with repairs the buyer wanted, repairs the seller didn't want to do. So in the end, the seller cancels, and they want to keep the deposit. Well, guess what? We never removed contingencies. Well, if you don't remove contingencies, what happens to them?
They remain
part of the contract.
They continue. They keep right on ticking, right? So the contingencies that aren't removed are a contingency right up until the day it records. So the buyer wants the deposit back. The seller can't keep the deposit because the contingencies were never removed. If the contingencies had been removed, the seller would have been able to keep the deposit. So make sure if you're representing the seller, you're removing contingencies. Questions about that?
What if they don't send you back the form? I've sent a couple out already, and I'm not getting them back. I've sent more emails to them, and I'm not getting any answer back, or they're ignoring it.
What do you do?
Notice to perform.
Okay, what if they don't answer the notice to perform?
Cancel
The
it.
notice to perform on my case is REO, so I know I've got to go to the bank to get them to sign it first, right? And then send it on. They cancel, they have the right to cancel.
Yeah, and it should always be up to your seller. I mean, you don't want to send the contingency removal and then the buyer doesn't sign it and you say, that's it, I'm sending a notice to perform, and if you don't sign that, we're going to cancel it. You need to go back to your seller, whether it's a short sale, a standard sale, or an REO, and say, look, I sent a contingency removal. They haven't signed it. what do you want me to do? I can send a notice to perform, I can let it ride. And hopefully they would say, and you would counsel them to send a notice to perform. Okay, I've sent this notice to perform, they're not performing. What do you want me to do? We can keep going, we can let it ride, or we can cancel the transaction. But at least you've informed your client as to what you need to do, as opposed to just at the end of the almost the end of the escrow when the buyer backs out, and then you're sitting there going, gosh, I really probably should have said something to you, but I didn't. And now we've got a real problem, and now you're in the doghouse, you're in trouble. So,
you know, Shelley, just so everybody knows, at least the asset managers I'm dealing with, they're getting real hard on this right now. And they're getting hard on me about it, making sure I'm following up on it. Because, yeah, they want to know, is this going to fall out or is it going to go through? So any of you that are dealing with buyer's agents, you better have your ducks in a row. Because I got a feeling I got a couple, I'm going to be sending out these notice of performs right now and canceling, you know, escrow again on a property until we get a buyer that can really go through on it.
yep. Yes, ma'am.
I have a seller that they don't care if they didn't lift the contingencies. They do not care. They literally will not give the money back, and it's a $10,000 deposit. They don't care. And it was canceled. I know, but they won't. We will not give it back.
Well, they can. Well, there's two problems. So you've got a $10,000 deposit. The small claims limit is $7,500.
Right.
So the buyer can only take them to small claims for $7,500, or they can initiate a lawsuit, or they can go to mediation arbitration, and the buyer needs to put that together. The seller can be fined if there's clear reason for them that they should have released the deposit. If it's a clear contractual reason that they should have released the deposit, they didn't do it, and they get hauled into court or small claims on this, they can be fined. I think it's $1,000. It might even be
It's
$2.
my role to advise them.
Absolutely.
That, like I'm doing now, to let them know.
Absolutely. The contingencies were never removed, or you know, the buyer simply didn't qualify, or the right time didn't elapse, or whatever it is. Yeah, if they're in the wrong, you should advise them of that. That way they can't say she never told us.
Yeah.
Yeah, informed clients.